Hello and welcome to today's main event, reviewing the 2023 Localization Business Confidence Study. My name is Sarah Hickey and I'll be hosting this event today. Recent shocks to the global economy have triggered a mass reshuffling of the labor market, and we are currently experiencing inflation, currency fluctuations, an energy crisis, and mass layoffs in the tech industry. This makes it a particularly interesting time to ask, how's business? And that's exactly what the latest research does. This event is part of a larger event series we are hosting here at Nimdzi Insights, where we talk to industry leaders about the latest research and trends in global business and localization. We are hosting this as a live event on LinkedIn, so if you're joining us live, then we encourage you to engage directly with us in the comments, and we will respond to any questions or insights from the audience during the live stream. If you missed the live stream and are watching the recording, then you can still reach out to us at info@nimdzi.com. This is an ongoing series, so if this is your first Nimdzi event and you are not already following Nimdzi Insights, you can do so to make sure that you are notified in your feed when we schedule new events. If you follow Nimdzi Insights, you'll be notified when they go live or when the recordings are available. Today's event is part of the Globalization Research Series track, where we highlight the latest industry research and host a conversation about the findings with experts from the industry. Today's featured research is the 2023 Business Confidence Report published by Nimdzi Insights. We'll be going over the takeaways from the research today, though if you would like to dig deeper, you can access the full report, which is available at nimdzi.com. For our discussion today, I'm joined by Rick Antezana, CEO of Dynamic Language, and Virpal Singh, founder of Digitaltolk. Hi, Rick and Virpal. It's great to have you. Maybe you want to introduce yourselves briefly as well.
I guess I'll go first. Hi, Sarah. Thanks very much for having me. I'm Rick Antezana with Dynamic Language. We're based in Seattle, Washington. We're a language service provider. I've been around, as Virpal and I were talking about, for a long time. The company was founded in 1985. And we're Nimdzi subscribers and happy to be so. But thank you for having me on the podcast.
Great to hear. Thank you.
Hi, Virpal Singh, founder of Digitaltolk, co-founder of Digitaltolk, together with my co-founder Leila. Been around for only 6-7 years. Very tech focused and very happy to be on the show today. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. So before we jump into the results, I just want to also take a brief moment to thank one of my colleagues, one of our researchers, Hannah Lesky, who helped compile the full report that is published on nimdzi.com. So thank you very much, Hannah. Okay, so let's get into it. We're gonna, I think, straight away jump into the results. As we already said, we thought it was a good time to just check in. Not that it's ever not a good time. And I think the question, how is business, is one of the first people ask each other in the industry, probably in any industry, whenever we meet. And we have started meeting again at on-site conferences. Actually, I'm about to go to Gala as well. I don't know if anyone else is going. But if you are, I'm happy to have a chat with you and also ask, how's business?
I'm not going to be able to make it to Dublin this year.
You're not coming to Dublin this year?
Yeah.
Me neither.
That's a shame. Okay, well, maybe we meet at a different on-site event. But either way, it's a typical question. It's a fairly harmless question. But we just felt like this was a particularly good time to check in and see how people are feeling, how confident the industry is about the current business situation. So our study once looked back, so the last quarter of 2022, and then we also always looked ahead, the first quarter of 2023 that we're already in right now. So I think we're going to go over the results from the report that's on our website, and then I want to hear from the two of you, because I have you here now, and see what it's like at your companies, what other insights you have to provide regarding the background, how you feel about these results. So when it comes to the respondent profiles, let's briefly check. Actually, sorry, I need to see this larger. We had companies from all kinds of different sizes taking our survey, and from all around the world, even though it stands out that more than 60% were from Europe, surprisingly. We usually get a lot of North America respondents, but and often it's a good mix, but I guess the Europeans dominated this study. And it was largely filled by people in executive positions in the industry. 68 language service providers and 13 language service buyers who we also had, but the majority of the results on our website are just from the language service providers, because we consider that 13 is not large enough of a sample to also talk about the buyers in this particular study. But ideally going forward, we'll see a few more of them coming in as well. Okay. Here we go. This was the basic question at the very beginning, just to set the scene. So I think it's perfect for our live stream as well that we set the scene with this one today, asking how is business? So what we can see here is that already in the last quarter, it was looking pretty good. People were either satisfied or said that the business situation was good. But it's noticeable that this is increasing for this quarter. People expect their business situation, overall business situation, to improve. So I want to ask both of you, first of all, how you are feeling about this at your businesses, and why you think we're seeing a better outlook in this quarter.
Go for it, Rick.
Happy to, Virpal. Thank you. So my take in the first 6 weeks of the year is honestly, it's very similar to the step we're taking from the report. Pretty positive, honestly. I would say that of the different verticals that we service, that taking a look at in particular technology, and it's a bit of a disconnect there, right? Because we've heard so much about the economy, problems with the economy overall that has resulted in layoffs and workforce reductions in technology. Simultaneously, what we're seeing is an uptick with our technology customers for some reason. I can't really explain it, but it is. We're certainly happy to see that. But we've gotten some large projects that were talked about last year, and of course, we were a little bit concerned going into 23, thinking, okay, are these projects actually going to come to fruition? Are they going to be realized? And they have been so far, the ones that were planned for Q1. So that part's really positive. Another vertical that's big for us is government, and it's something that I think Renato and I have talked about many times, is the bulletproof factor of the language services industry, right? Like when the economy's bad, what's the Renato famous thing? Yeah, when the economy's bad, we're translating
when times are bad, we
lawsuits.
translate lawsuits. Yeah.
Exactly, and when times are good, we're translating contracts and marketing. Exactly. So I'd say that has been pretty consistent. Like, our government work has picked up, and I think certainly it's a factor within the US and I would think worldwide, the fact that the effects of the pandemic are reducing even further. And because of that, there is more the in-person interactions that are happening, I think, are increasing. And so we are seeing an increase in government work on both the translation and the interpretation side of things. So there are a number of verticals where we are seeing a slight reduction. I mean, manufacturing has probably been down for us a little bit as far as the nature and the types of requests that we're getting. But overall, I would say surprisingly positive. And that's probably with me going into this year with maybe a little bit less confidence. So I'll just say, pleasantly surprised.
Mm-hmm. Nice, thank you. I was about to interrupt you because your video was breaking up a little bit at the beginning and the sound as well, but now it's stabilized again. And I think to a point where we got the main gist of what you were saying. So I think that is okay.
Thank you.
Let's hope it stays this way. Okay, Virpal, what's your take on this?
No, I definitely agree with Rick here as well, in that going in was going in with caution of everything that's going on in the market. All of the concerns that the report raises, with the high inflation, the cost side increasing significantly. But we've been pleasantly surprised as well that from a customer perspective, we've been very fortunate to get the trust of more customers as we go along in the private market. And like Rick mentioned, the effect of the pandemic has started to subside as well, both in that in-person interpretation, but also in sense that those sessions which otherwise wouldn't have happened at all, with us in the schooling, parent-teacher meetings which were being canceled, and those things, that's kind of started coming up again, where the things that were more or less reduced during the pandemic are now coming back. So we are going, 6 weeks in, we're seeing a rise in our bookings, and we're very happy about that going forward as well.
Yeah, fantastic. It makes complete sense what you're saying. Okay, so let's take a look at the next section, which is about staffing trends. Sorry, I don't know, I'm stuttering a little bit today. We had a great reshuffle, not just in our industry, and now we've seen mass layoffs in the tech industry, even though unemployment rates remain very low, at least in the US. At the same time, people are also returning from the tech industry to the LSP side. A few LSPs had previously reported they lost some good people to like the actual client side from the tech companies, and they are coming back now. So, which is actually not too uncommon, right? Because the work doesn't go anywhere and it just shifts back to the vendor side, which also presents an opportunity for LSPs. At the same time, though, I just completed interviews for the Nimdzi 100, and I still heard a lot of companies also talking about a talent crunch in our industry. So that's why we asked about staffing trends. And what we see here, though, is that it looks pretty positive, I would say, even from the last quarter, that staffing levels at least stayed about the same, and a few increased, a few decreased, but not too much in comparison. Whereas looking ahead, it looks pretty great. Either people retaining talent or also looking to hire more. So yeah, again, what is it like at your companies, or what's your experience? Is there a talent crunch or not so much?
Virpal, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, sure. And especially given that we're very tech first, this puts us in a very particular situation where the entire industry is more or less, like you mentioned, basically chopping their headcount, and it's very unfortunate. For us, it's been a particularly confusing time, given that we're seeing a rise in our operations, and seeing that there's so many exciting things that we want to do. So on one side, having access to the best talent is obviously the biggest challenge at all times. But we're also very humbled to be in a very steady position to not just maintain a stability, but also increase our investments in tech. And it's a bit like what you said, Rick, earlier as well, that when times are tough, just keep going. And that's what we're seeing as well, that we've just started our journey here, and we see that there's a lot of stuff going on in the market. We have to be see what's on the horizon and beyond, but we think that it's important to see beyond the short term issues that the financial markets are seeing right now.
Mm-hmm. And what is it like for you, Rick, or what is it like at Dynamic Language?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good question. And I think Virpal, you make some really good points, especially as it comes to that long-term outlook. I think it's so key to be able to, and really it's required to look well beyond where we are currently. And I will say that for our part, from a staffing standpoint, we have been on the increase over the last couple of months. Basically, we're trying to basically make sure that we're able to solve the challenges and the and really take care of the solutions that our customers are putting in front of us. And in many cases, we need to add to headcount to make that happen. So we have consistently over the last, I'd say probably 8 weeks or so, looked much more towards finding additional talent to be able to help us out in certain areas and helping with projects. And, historically speaking, based in where we are in Seattle, Washington, which is such a tech hub, I've unfortunately had the experience of having recruited and trained many people that ended up saying, "Hey, it's been great. Thanks so much. I'm going to go work for this or this tech giant, and they're going to, double my salary, and I'm going to get way better benefits, but love my time with your company." So, that's not really happening so much right now. So from that perspective, I'm not complaining, but at the same time, we've also changed our strategy. We're no longer, as we were pre-pandemic, focused entirely locally as far as our talent pool. And so, yeah, for us, we have employees in 4 different countries and 6 different states in the United States. And so, yeah, for us, we've basically reacted to what had been happening, and we've created a situation that makes us a little bit more resilient when it comes to the talent pool. But I would say, yes, certainly for us, we are looking to augment and to add to our our team to make sure that we can solve all the language issues that our customers are putting in front of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and actually, I've heard some of this in last year's research as well, similar to what you mentioned, that, of course, with everyone going remote, that it has opened the door much wider again for the talent pool, so that it's not as much of an issue anymore to have this local competition that you described. Even though in some cases I also heard the opposite, when people then suddenly were able to work in, let's say, the capital of a country where they make a lot more than in the local market. And so I guess it can be either way. But yeah, we have a question here actually, and that is, which roles are you hiring for the most, coming from Rodrigo?
On our side,
Well,
we're
got
hiring...
you. Okay.
Go for
Go
it,
ahead,
Rick.
Virpal, please.
You go for it, Rick. You go first.
Okay. Very well. So for us, we did make a recent hire on the recruitment side of things. So I think a major challenge that we have is the linguistic talent when it comes to in-person interpreting. So regionally speaking, for us during the pandemic, it was massively affected, obviously. And so for in-person interpreters, we lost a number of them. Many retired. Some passed away, some decided to go to a completely different industry because of the nature of the challenges that we were dealing with during the pandemic. And so for us, what we had to do was kind of change our strategy on how we were managing and handling our in-person interpreters, and of course, beyond that, our conference interpreters, simultaneous interpreters, etc. So we've augmented that team with people just focused on recruiting, and even connecting with bilingual people and helping them from a training standpoint, getting them trained up so that they can be interpreters and have a viable career doing something different than what they were doing. So that's certainly one of the areas I would say on the project management side of things. We've kind of upped our game from that perspective as well.
Thank you. Your video and sound are breaking up a little bit again. I could still hear what you were saying, but I don't know if there's anything you can do about it, but I'm just letting you know. Virpal, what's it like for you guys when it comes to hiring? Which roles are you hiring for the most?
Yeah, no, I was just I was a bit deliberating about what Rick said as well previously about the age of the company, and that truly reflects in the recruitment as well. We are at another stage where not having been in business for as long as Rick has, we're setting a lot of our foundation, building our management suite. Obviously, being in tech, we're hiring a lot of developers and technical talent as well. While on the interpreter and translator side, we've actually managed to build quite a good pipeline and funnel to kind of continuously recruit that and fulfill those needs that our customers are having. So we thought about scalability already day one in how we're hiring our recruiters, so interpreters, and translators. So the language professionals, we've actually been very fortunate to have a collaboration with a fairly large pool of professionals. But going more on building the company as such with a managerial layer and keeping up with the innovation in our organization with the product owners and programmers and that kind of skill set.
Thank you. I see that this topic is interesting the audience quite a bit. And so I want to ask one more question. And someone asked, what does this mean for freelancers? Do you have an answer to that, either one of you?
I think the growth of the industry in itself is obviously a positive trend for freelancers. I mean, obviously, we're seeing a trend with a few more and more LSP also hiring and recruiting and having in-house interpreters. But I wouldn't say that is to a large enough extent impacting the freelancer pool, given that the market size is increasing as well. So I think the market, I don't think freelancers need to be worried about that as such. Obviously, there's a long-term threat in terms of how customers want to apply AI and those kind of solutions. But I think that kind of threat is a bit further away and not as imminent.
Rick, do you have any comment on that?
Yeah, I would concur with what you're saying, Virpal. Yeah, no problem. I would just say that, sometimes economic surges like these are like a wave. And so I think the freelancers might be feeling it more on the tail end of the wave than up front. But certainly I think it's going to be a net positive effect for them. So yeah, realistically, I think it's going to be a good thing.
Okay, fantastic. So to wrap this up, final question from me. Even though, I mean, reading between the lines, I feel like I know the answer, but do you feel, if you had to say, do you feel like there is a talent crunch or there isn't really a talent crunch in the industry? I know it's not exactly an easy question, and I have
I'd
my
say
own.
that I would say, given the market dynamics right now, I'd say I'm feeling very optimistic for us who are hiring that talent crunch is reducing. There has been the last 2 years, and a bit certainly the things that Rick, you mentioned, the competition from the bigger companies, but I'm feeling that talent crunch is subsiding, and it feels like there's a new balance that we're reaching.
I would concur. Yep.
Perfect. All right. Thank you. This was good. Let's see what the next question holds for us. We're moving on to financials. There's actually a little bit of a breakdown of that coming up, but we're starting with the overall financial situation, which was already looking satisfactory and good for most companies in the last quarter. And it's even going to get better. At least that's what companies expect for this quarter. Yeah, what's your experience in this now? What's it like for your companies, or why do you think we are seeing these results? I mean, there's not much of a difference between the last quarter and this one, but a slight bit more optimism, let's say. Oh, either one of you. I could start
Virpal, you want
tagging
to take it?
yourself, but I'll leave
I'm
it
gonna.
to you.
And by the way, Sarah, yeah, no, that's fine. And I'll go ahead and try and switch to my hotspot while Virpal's answering this, and so hopefully that'll improve the connection.
That sounds good. Okay, yeah, Virpal, what's your
Sounds
take?
good. Yeah. In general, I would concur with the results in that we're seeing a bright future forward as well. And for us, it's predominantly underbuilt by the fact that we're getting a larger and larger brand awareness as well in the market. So a lot more customers who are turning to us, where we've managed to build a trust with a lot of the public sector customers. And that certainly has helped us build the brand. But also with a very active focus in going out there and capturing market share. And we've been very fortunate there in getting that trust. So we're very optimistic about the future.
Thanks for sharing. And yeah, Rick, your video looks excellent now.
Is it better now? Yeah, went with the hotspot instead of like the hotel Wi-Fi that I was on. So sorry about that, but hopefully it'll be good for the rest of it. Yeah, I would say just from a confidence standpoint, I think, as we say, the proof is in the pudding, right? I say that in the sense of I have made a conscious decision for us to invest quite a bit more in the growth of the company, and rather than trying to sit back and wait for things to happen, we are making a push from a marketing standpoint. And I think some of the verticals that we serve, I mentioned a couple already, but another one is education. Virpal, you, I think, also mentioned that as far as parent-teacher conferences and things like that happen throughout the year. That is absolutely a factor for us. But then also on the corporate side of things, training and development, when you look at e-learning in particular, that's a big focus for us. And so when I look at the customers that we serve in that area, there's definitely growth. And I think that's why we're trying to be aggressive about connecting with them and getting in front of customers like that to make sure that they understand we're able to help them out.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna ignore the comment that I see there right now because I think it fits very well with our next topic, actually. So we're moving on to the demand. When people talk about an economic downturn, which is in the news quite a lot these days, and I know I've seen different kind of takes on that as well, but it's just easy to think that this will automatically come with a decrease in demand. But our results here show that the business leaders in our industry are actually really optimistic that demand will increase. I would say also because, well, times have shown over and over again that language services are essential services. How would you see that?
Go for it, Rick.
Yeah, thank you. I would agree. I mean, and I think that was proven out throughout the pandemic. Certainly, our state immediately, when they declared a state of emergency, they had to categorize a number of different businesses as far as where they fit into the economy. And absolutely, language services was immediately declared an essential service. And so for our internal staff that was, physically working. Yeah, we were able to come to the office. So that's just an example. But I would say that yeah, there's a reason that in uncertain times that there is a certain level of certainty within our industry, as we already talked about a little bit. And yeah, I think realistically, my view is positive for a reason. I mean, it's just looking at results and it's communicating with my sales team and understanding what the pipeline looks like and the types of conversations that they're having. I think it's really, really important from an account management standpoint to stay in close contact with, especially your key customers. The certain X% of the top. And for us, we try to have a very open dialogue with our tier one customers, as we call them. And that's really what affects my decision making more than anything, is understanding where they are, what their plans are, and how they plan to attack the current situation, as far as the economy or anything else. So yeah, for me, it has left me optimistic.
Good. Great. Okay. Virpal.
On our side, I agree with Rick, but for slightly different reasons. Apart from that, the fact that it is incredibly essential service as such, we're also seeing a demand for a very unfortunate reason in Europe here, which is as a consequence of the war in Ukraine as well. So that's kind of in an increase, but that's a very unfortunate reason to see that kind of rise in demand. And unfortunately, we're also seeing that the world doesn't seem to become a calmer place anytime soon. And that kind of is increasing the inflow of individuals fleeing, various places to come to Europe. And yeah, so we're seeing that kind of transition occurring. Obviously, it's starting to stabilize somewhat right now, but yeah, that's a development that we're seeing going forward.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. And I think both of you already touched upon this in this question, but also just throughout the conversation we've been having so far. But maybe just to recap, if you had to say which client verticals are like booming right now, or maybe booming is too strong, but which where are you getting most of the demand, or where do you see an increase there? I mean, aside from what you just mentioned as well, but is there anything else to add to particular client verticals worth highlighting when it comes to demand?
On our side,
I'll just highlight a couple. Go ahead, Virpal, please. No, it's your turn. You go.
Okay. On our side, it's a lot on the legal aid side. So for a lot of individuals, so we're seeing a rise in both public municipality services. So individuals who are coming here, a lot of legal agencies as well. We're seeing increased demand in as well. So those are the verticals, and healthcare has kind of had its standard, increase, not in any extraordinary way at all.
Okay.
Yeah, I would echo those. I mean, certainly, I would say government in particular, and this really aligns with what you were saying, Virpal, as far as the immigrant and refugee influx from Ukraine. I think that certainly affected us as well. And so, yeah, governments, municipalities, down to every single level. That I think was one sector that has certainly come to mind for me. And then also, I would say technology and healthcare. Those are two where we've seen an increase just during this quarter. I can't entirely explain it, but it's a real thing for us anyway.
Okay, great. Interesting. Thanks for sharing. I see one other comment I want to briefly address here. I don't know if I mentioned it, but we have Tucker Johnson running the tech in the background, so I might occasionally address Tucker.
Hi.
Yes, there he is. You know him. You've seen him in all the live streams. So how do you see the market in terms of project demands and the computation between LSPs? I'm not quite sure I'm understanding the question correctly, but I figure maybe the two of you do.
Can you repeat that one more time, Sarah?
Yeah, you should actually be able to see it on the screen here as well from Mohammed. How do you see the market in terms of project demands and the computation between LSPs?
Competition.
I'm thinking competition.
Oh,
Yeah,
that
what
makes
is
sense.
what is the
Competition.
competitive
I was like,
landscape?
maybe I thought
these
maybe
days?
there's some AI stuff in there. I don't know.
Did ChatGPT get in here somehow?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe. Thanks for clarifying, Tucker.
Yeah. I mean, certainly it is a competitive landscape, and I've seen it from both sides. Competing for business, but then also competing for talent. I had a friend, a colleague whose company actually recruited somebody off of my team, and we had a chat about it. Anyway, he wasn't aware of it at the time, but uh, yeah, to the point, yes, it's not an unlimited talent base, and for sure I think there's some competition from that standpoint. Yeah, on the other side of things, competing for clients, I mean, that's always going to be there, right? I would say that we have seen some pricing pressure, I guess. There have been some cases where we were competing for some business and we found out that the numbers that my team was putting out there were not quite competitive enough in a couple of different areas. And so it's caused us to react a little bit. So I would say that, yeah, competition is very real. And, obviously there's different ways to compete. But yeah, we're definitely seeing activity from our competition when it comes to our existing customers and then our prospective ones.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I could just agree with you that there is a fierce sense of competition in the market, and especially with us, being a tech innovator in our market, we're seeing that the traditional players are moving quite ahead. They're making their leaps in that development. So all respect to the competitors out there. That said, I think our strategy in general has been fairly focused on serving the customer, and as long as we focus on doing that right thing, then the best of luck to all competitors in what they do. I think our focus has primarily been talking to the customer and inwards. How can we do everything in our power to serve our customers better? And that's kind of been a winning recipe in our growth as well.
Mhm. Perfect. Thank you both. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Of course, everything we discussed so far, but especially also demand, is affecting revenue in the end, right? So I would say in the last quarter, it was pretty much a mixed bag. If we're looking at the results there, pretty much a third, and a third, not quite, but just about. Whereas the majority of participants seem very optimistic about this quarter. Probably linked to the demand, or maybe what do you think the reasons are?
Go for it, Rick.
Okay, very good, man. Yeah, the reasons are tough to say. It's interesting. I mean, all I can do really is react to the information that we're getting from our analytics, from our data, from from my accounting and finance team and my sales team. I mean, those are the ones that really tell me from their fingers need to be on the pulse, as I mentioned earlier, of our customers. And so truly, it's their feedback that tells me, well, I have reason to be optimistic, and there's reason for us to plan to invest in growth and to take advantage of opportunities that are out there. So that's my take on it, is that I think realistically we can only look at the numbers that we're seeing that are tangible, and then of course looking at Nimdzi's reports and the numbers that you guys are providing us. I still haven't seen any reason to be sad or pessimistic about the conditions out there, and so I'd say from that perspective my confidence level remains high.
Yeah, no, I don't have much to add based on what you said. Data is telling itself. We're seeing a rise in the numbers, and especially with the report as well, that we're seeing more and more strong players in the market as well, which is telling that the pie is growing bigger, and yeah.
Fantastic. And thanks for the shout out also, Rick. We do our best. And like I said earlier, there's a nice point for me to plug the Nimdzi 100 once again that we just published. The full report is yet to come, but the ranking is out and there's already some calculations based on that. And there is growth. I can confirm once again that the industry did grow again last year, and quite well, might I say. So yeah, take a look at that when you get a chance. Back to our study.
And well done with the report, Sarah.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah,
Agreed.
it's a nice day for me. Okay, yeah, pricing. One of you, or maybe both of you, actually already mentioned pricing earlier today. And last year, one of our co-founders, Renato Beninato, he said that basically there's been a race to the bottom for too long with prices in our industry, and that time has come to increase prices for various reasons. So this year, we wanted to know, has that happened or is it going to happen? So that's why we asked this question, asking companies, have they increased their prices or do they plan to do so in the next quarter? And let's say it started smaller in the last quarter with just about, a quarter actually of companies saying that the prices did go up for them. Whereas I think the results are quite interesting for this quarter, that 42% plan to raise their prices this quarter. For both of you, have you raised prices with your clients or do you plan to do so in this quarter or this year?
Virpal, please.
It's a very binary question, and I'm assuming it'll be similar with Rick as well, that it depends. In certain segments, we're seeing that prices are remaining the same, and that in itself is a significant improvement, especially with as you mentioned before, a lot of the pushing down the prices traditionally in our industry. So what we're seeing now is more and more clientele going towards increasing their prices or keeping the prices steady because of prioritizing quality at this point. So that's a very exciting trend to see. So I would say that prices staying the same in itself is an achievement. And we're seeing more and more customers agreeing to increase price. And again, a very natural explanation for that is obviously the both that higher qualified interpreters and translators, language professionals, demand to get a good and reasonable payment, and that's fully reasonable. And at the same time as all other costs are obviously increasing as well in the market. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
The same increase in summary.
Yeah, Virpal, I echo your words. I think that's been my experience as well. Like I did mention earlier, there has been some price pressure that we've been feeling on some opportunities on which we've worked. But I would say overall, looking at our existing stable of customers, if you will, the ones I would just say from the majority standpoint, we are looking to take our successful engagements and to increase the prices on those. I think where we find that we're a good fit, we are creating a lot of value. And when we create value, I think it's fair to make sure that our margins are going to be okay. And Virpal, to your point, high level talent is not cheap. And one thing that we pride ourselves on, and I think, your company similar to mine and so many in the industry, is that a big part of what we do is to recruit and retain high level talent, not only internally, but externally, when it comes to the actual linguist pool. And so that's something that we make a conversation with our customers and help them to understand that if they do want to continue to receive top level services, we're not going to be the bottom priced company. Those two things don't align very well. And as one of my salespeople has said in the past, not everybody wants to shop at Walmart. And Walmart, don't take that wrong, but the idea of the race to the bottom, we don't want to be necessarily participants in that. And of course, I will also agree with you, Virpal, that it depends. In some instances, and I kind of mentioned tiers earlier, right? So we have different tiers of customers and we have different ways in working with each of them. And so what we try to do is customize our solution to fit what exactly their needs would be. And so there are some where automation comes much more into play. They don't need much hand holding, and we are able to offer them a workflow and pricing that is more aggressive. But I mean, that's the way that we try to deal with those things. And even in those cases, because we put a lot of time and effort into it, there has to be just compensation for it. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense for us to be in business together.
Absolutely. And I actually keep hearing quite a lot about different pricing tiers as well, which is, not entirely new, but I keep hearing it more in conversations that I'm having with different language service providers around the world. In addition, I was also thinking that in some ways it should be a good time to increase prices now because there's already the inflation that everybody has to deal with. So maybe companies, one would hope, would be a bit more understanding that everything is getting more expensive. I don't know about you, but for me, even in my house, I feel like everything is getting more expensive. You keep getting new letters from providers saying we're raising prices. And as a consumer, you're sort of like, okay, I guess inflation, okay, So I don't know if that will have an impact or not. And another argument.
I think in enterprises and public sector, you have the more, at least on our side, we see a more bias towards quality in general, and not just pumping down the prices, which has been a very big priority for the customers historically. Now that they've seen how that turned out, a lot of customers are turning more and more towards, we prioritize quality over the lowest price, and that's been beneficial
That's really great to hear.
in retaining the talent and attracting the talent, both aspects.
Let's hope it stays that way.
Mhm.
Okay, we're already on the topic, really, I think. We also wanted to know what the 3 biggest challenges are. So we asked the respondents to indicate their top 3 challenges for the first quarter of 2023. And well, these are the results that we're seeing here. And number 1 is actually inflation and economic pressure. So I suppose there's a lot of uncertainty out there. Price pressure that we already talked about, and expanding into new markets. Those are the top 3, but we see the rest here as well. So what are your top 3 challenges at your companies?
Go for it, Rick.
Will do. So I would say mine don't necessarily fit in exactly to the cookie cutter approach that we're kind of looking at here. I mean, I think for me, one of the top challenges is a marketing challenge, and it's not necessarily expanding into new markets. It's about understanding the markets in which we're in already and focusing a little bit more, and trying to dive deeper into existing verticals rather than trying to be in more verticals and saying that we are all things to all people, which for me, I don't find to be a very resonant marketing message. So I think for me, that's probably my top challenge. And that's creating alignment. I mean, beyond just the marketing aspect of it, it's also creating alignment between all the various teams within the company, on the sales side, on the operations side, on the accounting finance side, et cetera. So for me, that's probably the top one. Also I would say the staffing part of things, as we
Mhm.
specialize a little bit more, identifying the right people for the right roles, and also giving, adding the training and development aspect to it. And, I'll give Nimdzi another shout out there. I think so we're a company that has adopted the EOS model, EOS. Let me just say that a little bit better. And so we do have a weekly management meeting where we track all of our key stats and we go through our big goals, small goals, etc. But one of the things we started tracking, which has been really important for us, is our team's time spent with Nimdzi experts and their ability to, gain the knowledge that we need as a company to help us up our game overall. That's been a difference maker for us. So again, I would say that falls under training and development. The marketing thing is a big part for us. And yeah, honestly, those are kind of like my 2 big focuses right now. So I'm sure there's a third down there somewhere, but the first 2 are dominating my time a little too much right now.
No, wow, Rick, I mean, you're a great guest to have, So, you are too, Virpal. I don't mean it like that, of course. I hope that was clear. Just thank you for plugging us once again.
No,
So, yeah, but
no
Virpal,
worries.
what are your top 3 challenges?
No, I think I'm going to copy paste here again, based on what Rick said. Getting that alignment and creating a focus. As an entrepreneurial tech company, we're all over the place. Really getting the alignment to make sure that we're all following on the right track and walking on the route. But also the copy paste because of the exact same things which are in the report. Whether it's the inflation and price pressure and expanding into new markets. Those are all, the talent crunch, all of those things are, which, they're all applicable for us. So yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess it's not too surprising. So we had seen some variations by region. So here, that's just a very brief overview. So what we saw on the previous slide, that was from all respondents, and then slight variations when we look at the bigger regions. So North America was more price pressure and expanding into new markets. In Europe, then inflation and economic pressure followed by price pressure. In Asia, it was about expanding into new markets, and then followed by inflation and economic pressure. And in South America, it was mostly also about inflation and economic pressure. Of course, you saw at the beginning we had different sample sizes for each region, but it was still an interesting takeaway. Rick, I feel like you have something to say about this. I saw you moving
I
there.
did. I was hoping to make an observation
Yes,
because in
please.
looking at the list and thinking about, all the different factors that come into play, I think one that was fairly high on the list was implementing new technology, and
Mhm.
something that we haven't really heard, at least in this discussion, we haven't really talked much about AI, ChatGPT, and the
Yeah.
effects of that, because I know that within different industry groups that I've interfaced with over the last couple of months, there's been definitely some angst or some worry when it comes to AI and Chat GPT. Although we really haven't talked about it here. I don't know. For me personally, I'm not that worried about it because I think the impending doom of the industry that was neural machine translation, everybody thought, or a lot of people thought a few years ago, yeah, well, we're going to be out of business pretty soon, which obviously hasn't happened. And
Yeah.
so, I don't know. I don't see that this technology trend is necessarily going to uh, be the harbinger of doom either. I mean, but at the same time, I do think there are going to be effects of it.
Mhm.
But I would say if I had to pick a distant third from the first two factors that I'm very focused on, technology is going to be one of them. We are in the midst of changing a couple of platforms on our side of things, our translation management system and our CAT tool. So we're in the midst of that. But yeah, I mean, actually, Virpal, I was hoping to get your take on the whole AI, ChatGPT, and kind of how it's affected you so far and what the future looks like with that.
I agree with you in the sense that, I remember a talk that Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft, gave 2014 when he launched the real-time translation over Skype.
Mhm.
This was 2014, and that was definitely at the time where there's doom and gloom in the language industry. And certainly we do see our customers transitioning, or at least testing and trying to augment. And for us, it's really important to be a part of helping our customers to transition to that. So that's something we're putting quite a bit of resources and R&D into. Do we think that that's going to happen tomorrow or next year? Probably not very likely, given the fact that the scenarios that our customers use this in are so critical. You want to make sure that in a healthcare context that you give, the accuracy level that has to be held is not there yet in the AI, and probably won't be there. It's not imminent, certainly not imminent. And being a technology first company, we're obviously always adapting, following what's going on, and so that's kind of been a very privileged position for us to be in. But yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of things happening, and I think it makes sense to stay on top of these trends coming up, including Chat GPT. And I was quite fascinated. Initially all of the hype was in English. Obviously, having tested it in Swedish works very well. Hindi, okay. Punjabi, not really. So
German.
obviously the quality is varying depending on how large the data set is.
Hmm. I love, by the way, that both of you just introduced this topic now and ran with it because it was on my list as well, and it was in one of the. No, this is excellent. I mean it. This is great. So thank you because I was going to ask about it anyway, and it just came up in one of the comments as well. Maybe we can pull that up briefly because maybe we can add to. Oh, sorry, Tucker. The comments from the audience. The viewers. Here, Rodrigo said, "I see a tech frenzy with ChatGPT, MT, and AI. Yet, do you agree with the question? What value does this new tech/service bring to my clients? Because it mostly remains unanswered." So yeah, what value does it bring to clients? Can you say? Do you have a like? I mean, maybe it's too early to say in most cases, but maybe you can give us a prediction.
Go for
Virpal,
it.
you're probably better positioned to answer this than I am, honestly. I mean, I'll just give you my very quick take that
Yeah, please.
I think it's going to affect us more on, from my perspective, like the marketing side of things, and or certainly marketing automation, sales automation, being able to generate hopefully authentic sounding content that can be utilized to gain more market share. But certainly, like on the translation side of things, I'm
Mhm.
honestly very curious to hear your take on this, Virpal.
But this is a very European-centric approach, though, given that the language sets that are used in Europe, with Arabic being a huge language, Somali, Dari, a lot of these languages, where the research really hasn't reached there, where the quality is even close to being, close to the accuracy that is required. I don't see it being a threat anytime soon, but definitely a lot of opportunities, like you mentioned, in marketing, in sales pitches, etc. as well. But yeah, I'm looking forward with a lot of keen interest to see not how ChatGPT itself, but rather the approaches and development in AI and where that brings us. In the tech sector, there's been a talk about AI winter coming up, because AI has also had its springs and summers and winters. And as we've been progressing towards what I thought was a spring and eventually, a autumn and winter eventually, we are now seeing that there is a huge amount of development coming from a lot of these companies, which is being open sourced. So I'm actually super excited about what's going to happen in the data and the languages where there is very little data available, and how these new models are going to be applied to increase the accuracy in those languages. Super excited about that. That's a very Europe-centric answer, though.
No, but it's excellent. Thank you for sharing that, because maybe this is a good reminder as well, So both of you, thank you for sharing your perspectives. Super interesting points. Moving on to the strategies, of course. So we asked companies about their challenges, right? That's why we left off with the slides. And then we wanted to know, okay, if you have these challenges, how do you plan to solve them? What's your strategy? So it's nice to see that a lot of people actually said they want to increase salaries for their staff to compensate for the higher cost of living that comes with inflation. They also want to raise prices with their clients and increase the use of machine translation, which I also suppose is not too surprising. Those are the top three. After that, only attending remote events to reduce travel costs, even though that's less than 20%, reducing office space, going fully remote, also with the same idea of saving costs on office space. Very few want to ask the vendors to reduce rates, less than 10%. And I don't know what the exact percentage on this one was anymore, but I would say maybe about 5% or less want to reduce staff. What's your commentary on this, and what are your strategies for this year?
Go for it, Rick.
Will do. Thank you. I think a lot of these make sense to me, but I would, but probably not the last couple of reducing staff. I mean, obviously, I mentioned that we're increasing staff, and just the nature of how we operate with our linguistic suppliers. Generally speaking, we're not trying to get them to lower rates. I think our strategy has been to, find the right partners, negotiate rates up front, and just work. Like that's how we do. We don't try to, unless we see some huge sign in the marketplace that we missed. Thank you for putting that back up. Unless we see a huge sign that we missed, we don't renegotiate rates, generally speaking, with our suppliers. So that's not one way that we try to increase our margins. We are in the midst of reducing our footprint within our office building so that we can save costs that way, because we just flat out don't need as much office space as we currently have. I think we're increasing our attendance in in-person events. We're not trying to reduce travel costs. We're trying to connect with people. I think that's, for me, one of the big epiphanies that I had last year, and getting to attend a couple of events where our customers hang out. People want to be in person. People want to shake hands. They want to meet who they're doing business with in something other than just the virtual environment. For me, I want to make the most of that. So we are increasing our travel plans for this year. But I would agree with the other three in increasing the use of MT. We are trying to find the right clients that's a fit for, and to create workflows for them to utilize that. And I think that's a win on both sides. We're able to not only save costs for us, but for them as well, and increase speed at which we can deliver projects. Raising prices with clients, we're doing that as much as we can across the board, again, where it makes sense. And certainly on the staff side of things, we're recognizing that there's a higher cost of living everywhere. And so again, where it makes sense based on position. So I don't want to say, yes, we're just increasing salaries across the board. Something that we're doing from an HR standpoint right now is really benchmarking. So we're taking a look at job descriptions, making sure that those are accurate, taking a look at how that job description fits in the marketplace as far as job title, and then job title based on geographical location and the experience of the person and the size of our industry. That is helping us really dictate where a person's comp should be. But really, it's also an exercise in figuring out variable comp versus static comp, incentivizing results, goal achievement, et cetera. Those are all things that come into play.
Wow, fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. Virpal.
Comps plans. That's one of the biggest and most exciting things, right? And especially given living in a period right now where it is a lot of challenges for a lot of our workforce as well, given that half of our workforce is fully remote, and in certain of these markets we're seeing a huge impact. So a bit like what you're saying, rather than going over the board, we're seeing focused where we need and where we feel that this is our responsibility for us to act on. And going back to the trend that you mentioned as well, that people want to meet. And for us, this is becoming a very interesting thing, given this remote aspect and bringing everyone together at the same time as aiming towards having a very light footprint on the planet as well. That's really becoming a big challenge for us. That making sure that our footprint on the environment doesn't increase to an unproportionate level, and climate compensating and things like that. But the in-person things are so important, because that interaction makes the entire difference as well, and especially when you're not meeting on a daily basis as well. So yeah.
Great.
And obviously, sorry, one last thing here.
Yeah, please.
In relation to that, obviously also increasing the automation level as well, constantly increasing the amount of automation, whether that's through machine translation or towards other workflows, helping customers becoming more automated.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's absolutely a big trend that we're seeing across the industry. And I guess it only makes sense, right? So, okay. So the main takeaways from our study were basically that the expectations suggest that things are looking good overall, right? When we looked at Q4 versus Q1, in most brackets, we saw optimism for this quarter and this year. Except for the Europeans a little bit. I don't know if that's maybe just our nature. I don't know. I can say that because I'm European. No, sorry, that was just a joke. But it was just a slight difference there, that some of the European respondents were a little less optimistic. They may also just be affected in different ways. Like we said, we have a war in Europe going on. Inflation is impacting different regions of the world in different ways. And on a positive note, it does look like prices are going to increase in the industry. So that's good. We'll see. I have ignored, I think, 2 questions in the comments. I think they were mostly around quality, but I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So I don't want to keep you, but maybe we can still address them somewhat later on LinkedIn somehow, or if you want, I can briefly ask them. Someone mentioned here, as you mentioned, quality is one of the main focuses nowadays. What would be your approach in this area? I'm talking about the regular translation of content. What would be the best steps, tools, and approaches that actually help? Maybe we can keep it very brief.
Okay, I'll just quick comment. Quality means different things to different people. And of course, there are different expectations depending on what problems or challenges you're trying to solve. And so we try to approach it as kind of a sliding scale. I think it has to be a dialogue between the customer, the end client, and the company that's trying to find the right solution. That's kind of our take. Virpal?
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I'd say that on our perspective, and I definitely agree with you as well. We've seen a trend with a lot of companies talking about quality, but for us, it's always about, not just talking the talk, also walking the walk, and ensuring that you always prioritize the most qualified interpreters as well in every setting where that is necessary, and to continuously do that. And in fact, if that means slightly lower margins, then that's a cost that we're willing to take to make sure that we're truly serving our customers.
Fantastic. That's a nice statement to wrap on. So thank you. And sorry, Tucker, that I changed my mind from not asking the question to asking it, because I already hear the outro music playing. So I'd like to thank everybody for joining us today, whether you're joining live or watching the recording afterwards. Please also join me in thanking our panelists, Rick and Virpal, who made time to share their experience with us. And make sure to go follow them on LinkedIn to stay up to date with whatever they're doing. It really sounds like it's worth it, because you guys were fantastic. I'm not just saying that. It was such a great conversation. So thank you both so much. You're amazing guests, and I'd love to have you again anytime. Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, yes. Sorry, I just
Same thing. Thank you so much. Sorry for the technical issues. Virpal, Sarah, Tucker,
thank
it was a
you.
pleasure.
Meeting you. Pleasure meeting you. Thank you.
As we're finishing up, if you haven't already done so, make sure to go to the Nimdzi LinkedIn page and click on events, and make sure you're registered for all upcoming events in this ongoing series. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for future topics, or compliments maybe, who knows, please reach out to info@nimdzi.com and let us know. And lastly, if you'd like to get more information on how to power your growth in 2023, I encourage you to check out the resources available at nimdzi.com/testimonials, and look at the case studies under the business growth and expansion section. Some example case studies you can find there include increasing LSP revenue by 2 million euros, developing a customized program for salespeople to accelerate business growth, how to build ideal client profiles with the guidance of Nimdzi consultants, and Nimdzi Upstream program helps company double its revenue, and many other case studies to learn from. You can use these resources to discover how other LSPs have successfully approached growing their business and get inspired how you can do the same. Once again, my name is Sarah Hickey, and it has been my pleasure to be your host today, and I look forward to seeing you again next time.